Have you ever felt the silent weight of living a life that doesn't feel like your own? Not a life of failure, no, in fact, you did everything right. You followed the rules, studied hard, built a career, paid the bills, showed up every single day. On the surface, you were the definition of success. Yet deep down, something was missing. It begins quietly. The applause no longer feels like purpose. The promotions no longer taste like freedom. And one day, you catch yourself in the mirror and realize, the man staring back isn't you. He's an actor, reciting lines from a script you never agreed to write. This script was handed to you before you could speak. Be good. Be responsible. Don't question. Climb the ladder. Retire with dignity. It promised safety, respect, belonging. But instead, it left you trapped in a role, celebrated by others, yet empty inside. And here's the haunting truth, you are not alone. Millions of men live like this, applauded on the outside, hollow on the inside. Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But how can you claim that privilege if your entire life has been spent performing? This is where our story begins, not with rebellion, not with anger, but with a quiet realization that perhaps the greatest danger isn't failing the system, it's succeeding in it, only to discover you've lost yourself. One, the hidden script, the life you never chose. From the moment you were born, a script was already waiting for you. You never wrote it. You never signed it. Yet it was handed to you as if it were law. Be a good boy. Sit still. Follow orders. Don't ask too many questions. School became the rehearsal hall, training you not in freedom, but in compliance. Creativity was trimmed down to fit the margins of standardized tests. Curiosity, punished. Memorization, rewarded. You learned early that to be accepted, you must silence the parts of yourself that didn't fit the role. And so, you marched on. College, career, family, debt, each chapter flowing seamlessly into the next, not because you chose it, but because it was expected of you. This was the great performance of modern life, obedience dressed up as character, exhaustion disguised as success. The American dream, they called it. Yet for many, it was less a dream and more a carefully orchestrated production, one where the ending was already written. You see, this script was never about you. It was about keeping the machine running, about molding men into gears that produce, obey, and endure. A life measured not by depth of experience, but by milestones checked off a list, the diploma, the paycheck, the mortgage, the retirement plan. And maybe, in quiet moments, you've already felt it, that gnawing suspicion that your story isn't really yours. That you were cast into a role before you ever had the chance to audition. That what you've been calling life is just a performance staged by a society terrified of men who think for themselves. This is the hidden script. And the most dangerous part? It doesn't just trap your actions. It traps your imagination, until you forget you ever had the right to write your own lines. 2. When success feels like a cage. At first, success feels intoxicating. The steady paycheck, the promotion, the respect from colleagues, each step up the ladder whispers that you are finally becoming someone. You play the role so well that people applaud you for it. And for a time, you almost believe the applause is enough. But somewhere along the way, the applause grows hollow. The promotion feels less like freedom, and more like another shackle, golden, polished, but still a chain. You look around and realize the office isn't just where you work. It's where your soul is slowly being bartered away, hour by hour. This is the paradox of modern achievement: the more you succeed, the less alive you feel. You check every box, hit every target, yet each victory tastes like ash. You thought success would open doors, but instead, it builds walls, walls of expectation, responsibility, image. And then the most haunting question surfaces: what if the ladder you've been climbing all these years is leaning against the wrong wall? Because the cruelest prison is not built of iron or stone. It is built of comfort, approval, and a life too scripted to ever be truly yours. 3. Burnout, depression, and the silent epidemic. Beneath the polished surface of success lies a sickness few dare to name. It does not announce itself with broken bones or bleeding wounds. It arrives quietly, in sleepless nights, in the weight of mornings that feel unbearable, in the dull ache of a spirit ground down by repetition. Burnout is not simply exhaustion. It is the soul's silent protest against a life stripped of meaning. In America today, millions walk this path in silence. They wear suits, shake hands, hit deadlines, and yet behind the mask, depression spreads like wildfire. Statistics tell us nearly 1 in 5 men struggle with mental health, but the real number is far greater. Because silence has become the unspoken rule. After all, the system does not reward vulnerability, it punishes it. Carl Jung once wrote that, what you resist, persists. And what society resists most is acknowledging the emptiness inside its brightest performers. Burnout is not weakness. It is a mirror, reflecting back the cost of obedience. Depression is not failure. It is the inevitable result of denying the self for too long. The true epidemic is not disease, it is men forgetting how to live while they are still alive. 4. The moment of awakening, when the mask cracks. It never begins with thunder. Awakening often arrives as a whisper, a faint dissonance between the life you perform and the life you long for. One day, in the middle of a meeting, a commute, or a quiet evening at home, the mask you've worn for decades begins to fracture. The smile feels foreign. The scripted answers taste bitter. And suddenly, you realize, this isn't me. That moment is terrifying, because once seen, the crack cannot be unseen. The mask no longer fits, no matter how tightly you press it back against your face. What you thought was stability now feels like suffocation. What you once called responsibility now looks suspiciously like self-betrayal. Carl Jung called this the collision with the self, the deeper truth buried beneath persona and performance. It is not rebellion, but recognition, the soul refusing to be silenced any longer. And yet, this awakening does not come with applause. It comes with dread. Because to admit the mask has cracked is to admit the life you've built may not be yours at all. The stage lights dim, the script fades, and for the first time, you stand trembling, unscripted. 5. The cost of walking away. To walk away is not to slip quietly out the back door. It is to tear yourself from the very fabric of a world that once defined you. And every thread you cut bleeds. You lose more than titles and paychecks, you lose belonging. Friends who once celebrated your promotions now look at you with suspicion. Family members whisper that you've lost your way. Colleagues distance themselves, not because you harmed them, but because your honesty exposes their own compromise. This is the hidden price of freedom, exile from the tribe. Society does not burn you at the stake, it simply withdraws its warmth. Invitations vanish. Conversations grow thin. You feel the chill of being marked as other. And yet, this loneliness is not punishment, it is initiation. Nietzsche wrote that the one who has a why can endure almost any how. Walking away strips you of applause, but it gives you the one thing applause could never offer, truth. The cost is high, but so is the reward. For every friend lost, you gain a fragment of yourself. For every status surrendered, you reclaim a piece of your soul. Walking away is death to the false life, and birth to the real. 6. Why society fears the authentic man. An authentic man is not dangerous because he raises his voice, but because he cannot be controlled. He no longer bows to the silent commandments of conformity. He no longer sacrifices truth for acceptance. And in a society built on performance, this refusal is the deepest rebellion of all. Why does the world fear him? Because his presence is a mirror. When he speaks honestly, the rehearsed lines of others sound false. When he chooses stillness, the busyness of others looks frantic. When he lives without a mask, everyone else feels the weight of their own disguise. And most would rather shatter the mirror than face their reflection. Corporations call him reckless because he won't sell his soul for promotions. Friends call him distant because he no longer plays the game of appearances. Even family may call him selfish, not because he harmed them, but because he refused to keep performing the role they depended on. Carl Jung warned that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But privilege has a price. Society fears the authentic man because he proves what they deny, that freedom was always possible, if only they had the courage to claim it. 7. From loneliness to inner power. At first, the silence is unbearable. The absence of applause feels like death. You walk through empty rooms where laughter once lived, and every glance from others carries the sting of exile. This is the valley of loneliness, the place where many turn back, begging for the mask once more. But if you endure, something begins to shift. What felt like abandonment reveals itself as space. What felt like punishment becomes possibility. In solitude, you start to hear the faintest sound, your own voice, unfiltered and unchained. And for the first time, you listen. This is where loneliness transforms into power. Stripped of distractions, you discover an inner well you never knew existed. The energy once spent maintaining appearances now fuels clarity. The approval once chased outward now ignites strength within. Jung called this encounter the meeting with the self, the realization that you were never empty, only buried. Loneliness, then, is not the end. It is the initiation into a deeper life, a life anchored in truth rather than performance. For from the ashes of exile rises a man no longer fragile, but unshakable, forged in silence, crowned by solitude, and powered by his own soul. 8. Finding a new tribe, you're not alone. Every man who walks away believes, at first, that he must walk alone. The silence convinces him he is the only one awake in a world of sleepwalkers. But solitude has a secret. Scattered across the wilderness are others who left the stage long before you. They do not shout. They do not beg for recognition. They live quietly, intentionally, like sparks hidden beneath the ashes. And when you stumble upon them, something inside you stirs. You recognize it in their eyes, the absence of desperation, the calm of someone who no longer performs. These are the men who traded applause for authenticity, who replaced empty success with inner wealth. They are not bound by the script, yet they are not lost. They are free, and their freedom calls to yours. This is the paradox: by leaving the tribe of conformity, you find a deeper brotherhood. A community not built on competition, but on presence. Not on roles, but on truth. You are not alone. There are others rewriting their stories, others reclaiming their souls. And together, you form a new tribe, not of actors on a stage, but of men who finally dare to live without one. 9. Redefining success and freedom. Success, as the world defined it, was always a scoreboard: money, titles, possessions, applause. But when the mask falls, you see how fragile that scoreboard truly is. The promotion that once felt like victory now feels like a bribe. The wealth that once felt like security now feels like chains. The approval that once lit you up now tastes like ash. Real success cannot be measured in metrics the system hands you. It is not about climbing higher on a ladder leaning against the wrong wall. It is about daring to step off the ladder entirely. True success is not winning the game, it is realizing you no longer need to play. Freedom, too, reveals itself differently. It is not the ability to buy more, consume more, be seen more. It is the quiet sovereignty of living aligned with your own soul. It is choosing meaning over image, peace over performance, authenticity over applause. Carl Jung taught that the goal of life is individuation, becoming who you truly are. And in that light, success is no longer applause from the crowd, but alignment with the self. Freedom is not escape from responsibility, but the reclamation of your right to define what responsibility means. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are simply done pretending, and that is where real freedom begins. Have you ever felt trapped in a script that wasn't yours? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be the spark someone else needs. And if this message spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Because in a world full of masks, living authentically is the greatest rebellion.